Well, what's the crack, everybody? How you getting on? What's the story? I know I ask how you're getting on. It's just a natural thing to ask, but really you can't actually answer me back. How are the heads after St. Patrick's Day? I know a few people kind of sent me messages, delighted to see it, bit depressing, but people had made bars and everything in the house. I think one of the most impressive one was Shane's. It actually looked like a pub was going on in there. Yeah, no, it's like kissing your sister, basically, isn't it? It's grand, but it's not the real thing. What an intro to episode 178 of Buckshot, everybody. You're all very welcome on board. If you are new, how you keeping? Today, as you will hear this, for the majority of people, is the 19th of March 2021. Patreons would have gotten this last night, along with the video of today's podcast. So that's what you get as extra as a Patreon. You know the crack at this stage. I would imagine almost everybody listening right now, or if we have new people, there is a course, a Patreon page, lads, just to let you know, where you can support the show, but you also get little kickbacks like ad-free content and the videos. And I'm having a live podcast the weekend after next, the Munster-Leinster weekend. I will be having a podcast, either drowning my sorrows with you or delighted with myself. I'm not going to do one this weekend because, you know, it's Ireland, England. It could be hiding under the couch for the evening after it. But there will be a live one. I will put the link up for the Patreons. It will be there for all the Patreons to jump on and have the old natter. A lot of contact with people this week. Fair play. You've been sending me your comments. You know what to do. Today is actually the 299th fucking episode. Show I will be putting up 299th show, albeit 178th episode of Buckshot. There's a bunch of ramble pods there. If you're wondering where the fuck did this fella get the number, add them up, and there's that many of each. So we've hit 299. When we put out ramble pod next week, which will be the 301, I will be then looking to see name a winner. So wherever you're commenting, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or on Spreaker, or you just want to take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast with a fucking thumbs up or a class, or write something class on that, tag me either on Twitter or on Instagram. And I will review it from there, and somebody's getting a prize just to celebrate hitting the old 300 shows gone up. 300 shows gone up on the 100, I think it'd be like the 116th or whatever, 116th or 17th Ramble Pod. They're telling me there'll be 300 shows gone up. So to celebrate that, give us a comment. But, you know, if you're going here, I won't. But you are listening to Apple Podcasts, you know what to do. Give it 5 stars. Yeah, 5 stars. Rate and review. You know yourself. If you don't feel like reviewing, give it the 5 stars and that'll do. That'll do. Helps people see it. And taking screenshots is always great. And just tagging the podcast, Buckshot Podcast. You know what to do. You know the fucking crack. If you are new, like I said, look at the number. It's 178. There's a gang more stuff for you there to listen to. If you want to watch in video form for a lot of it, go over to the Patreon page for as little as $3 hairs. Become a patron. You can see the videos of it. If you don't, no worries. Just go back and have a listen. There's rakes of people there. I would go to the Instagram page to actually see visually, because it's much easier rather than trying to scroll back. You know, you'd be looking going, what the fuck? Because it keeps on freezing every time you hit 10. So go have a look at the Instagram page, the Buckshot Podcast Instagram page, and you can visually see the pictures of the people you want to go listen to and the number that they're at. I think I've missed a couple actually on that, but I need to review it. A couple popped into somebody mentioned one the other day. I went, oh, did you not see it on the? No, I didn't. Oh, you didn't see it because I didn't put it there. Look, lads, I'm not the most attentive when it comes to these things, but I do knock out plenty of fucking podcasts. There is, of course, the Tom and Jerry show. You know what to do. We're on episode 5 of season 4 at the minute. There'll be one more episode of this season, but we most likely having a brand new season coming up pretty soon. But as that says, there's 3 other seasons to go back and listen to. So there you go. So I've told you the crack. Live podcast coming up for the Patreons. And thank you very much to everybody who contributed this week. I don't know, did I inspire it some which way by saying it, but a lot of people have actually been voicing ideas for guests in the last 2 weeks. But class, keep it coming. Keep it coming. I mean, I know some people want to hear certain people and all the rest of it, but from experience of physically talking to people a lot between hosting gigs and all the rest of it, what you find is, and you kind of know what you're dealing with fairly early doors, that you might only knock 15, 20 minutes out of them. A lot of people don't have an hour of foot to the floor good stuff in them. You know what I mean? And no matter, and it's very difficult online. literally, if you're in the room, you can make shapes and you can kind of drag and pull crack out of people, but it's difficult online because, the kids screaming in the background, they're thinking about other things, they might have the kettle boiling. So, I try to service as best I can. And also, top crack is what I'm after. I'm not going for the hard questions. I don't care. I leave that to a certain other Irish comedian, I should say. That's his bag. It ain't my bag. Good crack is where I'm after. But thank you very much. I very much appreciate that. I do. Keep them coming, the suggestions. That's the crack. That's all the housekeeping, as they say, out of the way. Christ, I hate doing that. I hate saying that shit. But it has to be done at the top of the show. For fear we'll have a new straggler, which we have been having. We've been having a lot of new people, so I like to keep them up to date. Now, moving swiftly along to today's guest, Conor McKenna. He is one of those people that a smile on my face every time I ever ran into him. I love the three lads, but for some reason myself and Conor have always hit it off since day dot. He's one of the nicest, honest to God, nicest, warmest people you could ever sit down and have a natter with. He's absolutely as lovely as you can imagine. At one of the stages we will get all three boys, but again, it's tricky enough unless you have everybody in the room like the Mary Wallopers. It's tricky enough, and I ain't the best with tech, but I love chatting with Conor McKenna. He's unbelievably talented singer. He edits all the boys' videos. Singer, he play he's able to play music and just embarrassingly good. Brilliant actor. You'll know him from Foil Arms and Hog, of course, and you will know him if you've ever seen those Chips Curry ads, which we talk about, which I didn't realise were on such a grand scale of going all over the world to film for him. Amazing stuff. I had such a good time. He's one of the best blokes you'll ever meet. Sit back and enjoy the class, Conor McKenna.
That is fantastic background.
I didn't mean to piss you off too much. I genuinely, I was trying to put the RDS behind me just to balance, because this was a clean top. I just went, put this on, and then I thought, this will piss Conor. Go on over.
No, it's funny because it is that kind of whatever's clean. I remember I wore an Ireland jersey into the office. What are you wearing an Ireland jersey for? Is there a match or something? I was like, that was literally the only t-shirt that's clean. So
that's where we're at in our lives now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic. I mean, it's almost looks slightly fake. It's that kind of good.
It depends on if I blocked out the light properly, it gets really sharp. It's a HD camera that I have, but it gets really, really sharp. But that's why the RDS, from here up, my big white forehead was just blending into the stands. It was whatever was going on.
Well, I actually meant your mustache and your
of course.
Almost fake.
How are you keeping anyway? You good?
Yeah, not too bad, Tom. I'm going to hide my self view because I can't trust myself not to realize I've been talking to you for 15 minutes, and then I was like, why have I been looking at myself talk to you?
Jesus. I can't do that either. No, I switch it over to whatchamacallit. Oh Christ, no.
I don't know whether I'm being too honest about some sort of vanity there, or it's just a human nature to look at yourself. I don't know.
It was weird. I was about 10 minutes into one a couple of weeks ago, and I realized I've just been looking at myself. Oh my fucking God. I felt like I should have ended the podcast or something just going on. I can only apologize. I know you don't realize I've just been staring at myself, but I'm a fucking lunatic. And I was okay with it. That's the thing. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Well, when you look like that, I mean, who wouldn't be looking at themselves?
It's all gone fucking weird. Even my mullet is blending into the hills of fucking Cashel here at the minute.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's... Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've more hair than I've seen in a while.
Yeah, and it's calm now because I had a shower. You see, I take this podcast very seriously, so I had a wash before I kicked off. And let me see if I can move my mic up. So it's kind of it looks its best right out of the shower. You're like, that's its best. And then it slowly gets bigger as the day goes on. I keep having to sweep it back.
Yeah, I think we're all heading down that route. great to have you. Hey, thanks a million anyway for taking time, because you're busy. You're one of the few people that's really busy.
Well, I guess so. Well, I mean, I certainly was last week and the week before. To be fair, when you asked me about the podcast, I think we were filming we were doing like a kind of a tester sitcom, if you like, trying to see if we can put 22 minutes of an episode together, like the pros do. Turns out we can manage to 17 and a half minutes, even though
it's breaks.
28 pages long. I don't know how we managed, but I think we must speak very quickly. But so we kind of put that together, and like underestimated how long it would take me to edit it. I was like, I'm gonna bang this out in a day, and at the end of day one, I was like, I think I've got all the movie and sound clips synced up, so I'm ready to edit. Like it was a whole new ball game.
But fair play. Like that's an under. Are you trying to force the hand of a channel, or are you just going for we have that kind of coverage anyway? We don't need to. Let's put it out over our own platforms.
I think probably the former. To be fair, it's not feasible to do that level of work even once a month or once every. Like to get out an episode like that, the amount of drafts you to do in the script, like it's 28 pages long, and like. You have to have it's not just like a sketch where you can put you might already know how to write sitcoms. We certainly didn't. So a bit of a massive learning curve there, and beats to a scene, story arcs, act structure. And to be fair, a lot of it we kind of ignored, but we, in the early drafts were a bit of a mess. And then we're like, all right. He's like, if you can write sketches, what happens is, right, and this is really funny, is so you have 28 page long script, you can write sketches and you're not very good at narrative, right? Like that, for example, right? So you write, the first 5 pages are rip-roaringly funny. We're like, this is really sucking diesel. And then just the air just falls out of it. I was like, by page 7, it was so boring. And it was just it was so boring for page 7 to page 27, and then we were like, we've got a really good idea for the end that'd be kind of funny, and we wrote that as a sketch, and the last 2 pages are cracking. So we kept going we just need to fix those 12 pages in the middle and then it's fine. And then we were like, well, look, we can't really fix the 12 pages in the middle unless we change what's the first, what's on the first 5 pages. But then you're like, but then we lose all those great jokes. And then that's where you get into that, where you're the sketch writer versus the sitcom.
Yeah.
And then it was just really weird. Then it was it was then trying to, slow it down, because sketch is so fast and it's cut so quickly. Well, first it's delivered so quickly, and then it's edited so quickly, because you're trying to get it over in a minute and a half and 2 minutes. And then suddenly you're like, no, that needs to be 3 minutes now. So
that's funny, isn't it? That for so long, you were trying to tighten it up. And now it's oh, lads, we better put a bit of fat on this thing.
Yeah,
Jesus.
and it's so weird then to go, that needs to be quicker, And then you're just then you put the whole thing together and you're like, it's way too fast. Slow the whole thing down. And then there's definitely scenes we didn't get the balance right on it. Some scenes were too slow. Still too slow, and then some were too fast, and just the rest just experience probably, or it's probably just at this point maybe it's beyond the realm of my editing capabilities. I've reached this is my ceiling, never. It's time to pass it over to a professional, possibly.
You're tapping out at the Pro 14 semi-final. You're going, that's me. This is my
yeah.
I'm not Heineken Cup Challenge just yet.
Yeah. But how are you keeping?
Great. I love that shirt that you're wearing. That's.
Oh yeah,
that is class. For the audio listeners, it's fucking Garth Brooks, 1998. It's so gorgeous.
90s. Yeah,
it is gorgeous.
I was looking to kind of get a few new shirts. I don't know why I'm buying clothes when no one's seeing them. Well, I guess you're seeing them now.
Yeah, I'm delighted you're wearing it.
And I was kind of I basically went on vintage shops because I was looking for something kind of interesting, and I don't know, whatever websites I'm on buying new clothes, they're all just kind of look the same to me. And so I was like, I saw this and I was like, burst out laughing. I was like, amazing. It's like, it's so 90s. I was like, I want it.
You've got a timber floor. I mean, man, if you want to kick off some line dancing, just go for it. Like, just go for it.
It's funny because I never saw you're right. I never saw the Garth Brooks connection. What I was more thinking of was like, kind of like Chandler from Friends or something, like.
Yeah.
But maybe his would have more color.
But I do think the 90s, regardless of whether it was downtown Manhattan, I think there was a lot of country influence because shirts like that totally fit in. But like, there's lads, I guarantee, are still wearing those. Well, not wearing them ironically. You're wearing it ironically because you're like, it's vintage, it's gas. It made me laugh. Lads are wearing that like, primo. That is.
Yeah, exactly. I guess who can tell the difference? Well, maybe you can.
You just need a big belt buckle, like to throw people all together.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then go to the first Leinster match you're let into, like, and they'll just go, what? What
is he going on here?
What's after happening? Yeah. Were you watching the rugby over the weekend?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
You're because you straight away. I knew you were a rugby fella because nearly one of the first times I ever talked, you were able to pick what position I used to play in just by looking at me.
Yeah, it's like, I used to like my special power.
It's like how did it? I don't have cauliflower ears. You didn't go. You just went. Yeah, you were a centre, probably inside centre too. I'd say.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, now you've got the mullet, so you look like your man Goodhue, isn't it? The New Zealander guy. So you're really kind of laying it on thick there.
Yeah.
I wonder what position I used to play. Was it 12? Yeah, no, I was. I loved it. I mean, that England-France game was class.
Oh, my God.
It was like, is this the Six Nations?
Yeah. Oh, because I was looking going, oh, no. England look really good. They look really, really good. The speed they could swing it out to the wings, like, and you're going, oh, no. I know. We better start, better start shutting that down early doors because we get our pants pulled down.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I love it. I mean, any kind of rugby on or any sport on is like just such a welcome distraction. But Six Nations is class.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Mary's in Rathmines.
Ah, nice. Yeah. No wonder then, because it's like, did you want to go to school or play rugby, or did you just want to come here and just play rugby?
You didn't have a choice. When I think it's different probably now, but when I was there, they used to confiscate all the soccer balls. Like,
go away.
Yeah, different era. Like, I don't think they're allowed to that sort of stuff now, but like they go out to the yard, like, and they'd like the priests to take the soccer balls.
Love it.
Like they caught you smoking or something,
You're smoking a fag with a rugby ball. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's old school.
Leave him be. Yeah.
Wow. Because we were the other way around. If a rugby ball was seen, it was just taken off you.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it a hurling school or
hurling? Yeah, hurling and football too, because it was South Tipperary, but it was very much hurling and football. But then,
of course, yeah.
By the time that guy, I think we were in sixth year. And we had like 3 or 4 clubs going to our school. So it made sense to have a rugby team, like.
Yeah.
And we got your man shagged off. The new guy stepped in and went, totally, let's have a rugby team. And Alan Quinlan trained us, like.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
So it was...
Is he from Tipperary? Is he?
Yeah. He's one of the rougher sorts.
I guess it's like... I guess it's funny to be hearing... How long did he train you for? It's funny to be hearing him on the telly probably each week.
It's very weird knowing that he's a complete psychopath. Like, yeah.
Oh, really?
Like he's so calm and collected, like, but he's like next level crazy. Crazy. No, he trained us while we were in sixth year, but it was, but he would have been, I was with a club called Clanwilliam in Tipperary, and he would have been one of the forerunning, he was top dog at the time, like, because he was playing with Ireland and stuff like that. But he brought out O'Gara and he brought out Stringer to train us as well, take a couple of games with us, like. Yeah. So it was weird, like, because it was in a school. It's nearly like sacred ground. We were actually training on a GAA pitch, so it's like, oh no.
Oh yeah.
But it was mental. Like, I poached a couple of lads who were really good footballers. They were playing with the minor team, and there were 2 twin brothers. They were like 6'4", and put the 2 of them on the wings. They were unbelievable. And a guy actually rang my parents' house, disguising his voice, threatening me. It was the most amazing thing ever. Like, I swear to God.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like threatening you to, like, obviously to bring them back to the football team.
Yeah, don't be stealing, poaching young fellas for that old rugby. And then, like, 2 years later, of course, Munster get it, start doing well, and every fella is an expert now, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I used to play winger, and you could see there was like, you'd just be terrified. I remember going out before the matches, and you'd just be sizing up your opposite number, but I'm never bigger or anything like that, and I'd always be like, please have a speedy guy and not a big guy, because that was it. They either put a big guy or they put a speedy guy, but they never did both. And up until I was about 16, I wasn't fast enough to run around them, so I had to just pray that they were big guys.
What was the progression then, early doors? Because I never really got it. I think the very first time I was ever on a gig with you was actually in Scotland, I think, weirdly. We did the two stands.
I was trying to think about that earlier. Yeah.
We did the two stands. The Glasgow and the Edinburgh stand.
Ah, yeah. In the same weekend, wasn't
it? Yeah.
Yeah. And they were great gigs, weren't they?
Savage. And I remember you teeing me up to it because I'd never done them. Like, and I remember you saying, like, "Oh, if you think the Edinburgh one's nice, wait, you see the Glasgow one tomorrow night." Like,
Glasgow is like, it's just such a good gig. And what was it? Was it the Monday Night Raw, the Tuesday Night Raw? Was it that kind of?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was.
God, like, it was a pound in.
Yeah.
Like amazing, like, and this wasn't in the 80s, like this is not that long ago. It was a pound in or £2 in, and open mic comics with a headliner, I think, at the end, and bedlam, the students, and they really went for it. It was just such a fun gig.
I remember thinking, this place, there's no messing in this place in Glasgow, because your man, the guy behind the bar, had long hair and had fangs. Did you see him? He actually had fangs, implants.
I didn't realise that. Yeah. It kind of vaguely rings a bell. Okay.
Yeah, he had fucking fangs like a dog, like a vampire. Like, he had these big giant teeth.
But they're real.
Yeah, he had implants put in. So I was like, nobody's messing around in this joint.
Just like, what's that movie, what's the one with George Clooney?
Yeah, I tried to think, it's a phrase.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
We're both thinking, is it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? And it's definitely not.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time.
And it's not. It's like, and there's people listening right now, and we're not Googling this either.
Screaming.
We're not Googling this, Connor. We're going to sit here like two... heading for middle-aged idiots going
in a pub. Yeah,
in a pub, because there's no crack in googling it and actually finding it out.
There is no crack in it. God, it was some movie though. It really made me sit up. Anyway, no spoilers, but I mean, at this point, it is funny when people say like no spoilers, and you're like, well, the movie's been out 20 years, like, or 20, 30 years, like, you had your chance.
Yeah. So, and when Foil Arms and Hog came together, like, what was the... Because I can remember, do you know when there's fabled things where you look, did I dream that? Or did I remember that? Did that really happen? And I can remember, because you did stand-up solo.
I did. I did stand-up for, I think, maybe 2-3 years, maybe. Yeah.
And did you go to college with the other two boys, or what was the crack?
Yeah, I met them in university, and we were doing different degrees in that, but there was like a drama society, I guess, which was... kind of like a world of its own, in that it's funny when you think of student societies, you think of like ones that like meet up twice a week and then they do an event, or they go on a trip or something. Like, this was like next level. It was like you were joining like a professional theater.
Really?
Yeah, it was you were joining a professional theater setup. Like, there was people in charge, and like there was 2 plays on every single day that had tickets sold.
What?
Like, it's insane.
What?
Like, 2 plays, and they had 2 plays, and they had casts. I know that some of them had smaller casts, obviously smaller plays, but a lot of them had 4 or 5 people in acting. They had director, assistant director, they had someone on lights, they had makeup, they had someone on sound, they had someone to operate it. Sometimes a lot of the time they had set designers and people who they build the sets in there. They had power tools, they build the sets, and that was two. So you'd have a run. So you'd like. It was just insane. Like, when I think of how'd you get on in college, I actually go, oh, it's great crack, I really enjoyed it. And that's just what I think of. I think of putting on productions and the like mania of it. And you had a budget, like you were given a check, with your budget, and then you had to say what you spent your budget on, and it would all be accounted for and everything. like amazing life lessons, I tell you. But like when people go, how was your college? That's what I think of. I don't think of the 4 years I spent studying science. It kind of that's a secondary thought. Oh yeah, and I did some education there as well. So there was a different world. So we just spent all of our time down there. I'd come in, I'd go to my lecture sometimes, and I'd go to like whatever I had to go to in college I went to, and whatever I could get away with not going to, I didn't go to. And then I spent the rest of the time down there, like doing stuff. Like nothing, like doing stuff. Like, what are we doing this week? What's going on? And yes, brilliant. Yeah, another world.
That's incredible.
We were separated as well from the rest of the college, like in that, well, you were in the main arts building.
Yeah.
You were there, but what I mean is you were the very lower ground 2, I think it was called. And the other thing down there was toilets and a small computer room. And that's it. So nobody ever came by. It was like a world of its own. It's amazing.
That's phenomenal. But by the time you'd be ready to rock out of it, like that sounds like a professional outfit. Like that you're ready to rock.
Yeah. Like obviously there was another side to it as well, where like if you were a beginner, you're coming in and you were young, like in your first year, there was place for you to have as well, and there was that weren't just taken as seriously or weren't as intense. But I mean, I know it turned a lot of people off. Like, a lot of people were like, "This is too much for me."
Oh, there's no crack, right? Yeah.
But there was loads of crack to be had as well. But it was like everything you can expect from a drama society, like people who, like, you had like the actors,
yes,
and they were kind of a group unto themselves. I was not in that group. They were a group unto themselves, and they were very learned. Like, really, they were like, it wouldn't be unusual to find them reading Beckett, like, outside the theater. I don't know whether that was kind of performative, like, but there was probably a bit of that going on too. They were writing their own plays as well. Well, actually, no, the writers were a separate group as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then you had just like the actors, the people who were going to be famous, if you like, they were like the people who were going to go to the the colleges in London and that, and a mixed bag of different groups or whatever. And then you had the messers, which made up myself and a few of the lads, and then a bunch of other people, and lovely mix. And the really dramatic people. Yeah, it was a very dramatic place to be. So
you could, like, because that was something that, like, because obviously you went to do science, so you weren't initially compelled to go for, or was it a case of you didn't want to disappoint your parents and going I'm doing arts, but you were just moonlighting as an actor then? Pretty much. I love that. He'll do science. He'll get a job out of science. Look what happened.
That's pretty much, that's bang on the money. Yeah.
Yeah, I went off to be a civil engineer, so like...
yeah. Did you do it? Did you do civil
engineering? No, I did. I was a civil engineer, yeah. But I suppose technically I am a civil engineer, but I did. I went off probably 7 or 8 years.
Where did you do that now?
I didn't... UL.
Okay,
yeah. Just because, I mean, there was the option to go to UCC because the sisters are lecturer and stuff down there, but really rugby, it was all rugby, like, so the sister club to Tom William would have been Shannon. So I didn't give a fuck where I was going to college. I was like, don't care. The crack is in here. So yeah, it was all secondary to it. But
brilliant.
But yeah, I mean, it was a core. But then had there been a drama society of that scale, I think probably I would have been drawn to that too. Like,
Yeah.
Because you could see the attraction to it, plus the messing and the fact that you're kind of secluded, hidden away.
There was definitely a bit of that going on. Yeah. That's great.
And is that where you ran into the two boys then?
Yeah, that's where we met the lads. Mm-hmm.
Now, explain it for all the listeners. Foil Arms and Hog.
The name?
Yeah.
Well, they actually kind of started at one of those parties that we were at, one of those drama stock parties. It was actually funny because I'd been to parties for years, or with my best friends really from school and that, and they were a different prospect with the parties with your mates from school. You'd be slagging each other, there'd be a lot of that going on, and it was a brilliant crack. And then you go to the drama stock parties, and there was dancing. There was singing. There was like there was dancing, there was singing, there was like loads of messing, but not slagging and not character assassination.
Yeah. Because that's what I saw in the panto when I went. I didn't know anything about. I knew even though I'd been doing stand up for years, and I had done some of the telly stuff, but I hadn't gotten that grounding of the theatre. Yeah. And I rock in and this is a pro panto. Everybody's back over from London or wherever. Like one lad, the lead, he was in from, I think he was touring with Cats. I think he'd just come from Hong Kong or New Zealand or something. And everybody's like, darling. And it's just from the moment, these people were so interesting.
Yeah, so interesting.
Like their engine is running at like 9,000 revs of pure joy, or that's it.
Yeah,
the gearbox is falling out.
You know what I mean? Like that's what I loved about it, is that they go like you know, you're improv. Like I guess we love to improvise, like in work. Like I don't mean just like, you know, performing, but like we love to mess, like, you know, like stupid stuff. Like if Flan goes in late, you know, or something like that, I'll go, you know, or like I'm really sorry. Do you work here? You know, like he'll be like, "Oh God, you know, I'm upstairs." And he's like, "What do you guys do in here?" You know, and then we like,
brilliant. Yeah,
there's like 10 minutes of just like role playing, I guess, and I'm doing that almost every day. But like that was what dram stock parties were like. There was like you'd put out an idea and then you just run with it. And you know, have you ever tried to get your mates to play charades? No.
Yeah.
No. And then after a while, right, fine. Yeah, like that wouldn't be a problem at a party like this.
No.
Like, we're playing charades. Hooray! You know?
That's the dancing thing. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, they
all do. They'll go at the drop. Literally, somebody will have a hat to drop. At the drop of a hat, they will have a hat to drop.
Great, it's brilliant. It was wonderful. But one of these parties was where we came up with the name, which is we were right at the back and kind of chatting to each other, and I guess we were slagging each other off, maybe in a bit of a departure. But it was myself and the two boys, and we'd just done a bunch of gigs, and we were where we'd advertised ourselves as Sketch Comedy is Upstairs, starting at 8. Which wasn't the catchiest name.
That was the full title. I love that. I love the notion that in years, like, had you gotten really successful off the basis of that, and you were buying things with checks, and your full title was on the top of the check. Sketch Comedy Upstairs
started out. So we were like, we need to come up with a new name. But I think what we were doing was we weren't thinking we needed to come up with a name. We were just kind of teasing each other. We'd had a week of comedy, or, you know, performing, and we were talking about Sean Finnegan, Blondie, if you like, and he was complaining that he was like, in a joke way, you know, that he had all the worst roles, you know, and that he was basically just standing there to throw the ball up for Flango to whack it with the bat, and he's just like, it's just like, I'm just the foil. I'm just here to serve you guys, to make jokes, like, so. And then I was like, I kept doing foil face, like, you know, like whatever it was, I can't remember. And then he turned on me, you know, and Sean Finnegan is quite sharp, really, when it comes to he retorts, you know, his what do you call repartee? I don't know, it's a French word, but he's very, very sharp. And anyway, he was just like, what are you talking about? You know, like you couldn't even play those roles. You make too much of everything. Everything is arms and legs. You're always moving around. You're like a Greek, you know, actor. You know, when you have the hands to come out with the hand out. So that became Arms, and then we were like, oh my God, they're good nicknames. And so we need one for Sean Flanagan, and we're like, well, Sean Flanagan said he always hogs the best parts. And
brilliant.
Oh yeah. We hadn't realized it yet, but because Flango was, he was trying to become an actor at the same time as he was doing this. He had an awful lot of free time, whereas Sean Finnegan was still finishing college, and I was doing other things. Or I was doing a course in FOSS, and so he had all the time. So he was writing the scripts, and if you write the script, you get to put yourself in whatever part you want. And so he had all the best parts. It was basically the Flango show.
It's not a bad name for a show either.
Yeah, it's not. But so he was called the Hog. He was called the Hog, and then we decided to put them together. And I didn't really like the name. I was like,
Did you not?
No, I didn't. I thought it was interesting for a while, and then I really went off it because I was like, it's impossible to remember. I was like, every single MC or compare is getting it wrong, and not just like in England or Scotland, like everywhere. It's like even people we know are saying it wrong. And I was like, this is bad. No one's going to know who we are. It'll be impossible to catch on. And Sean Finnegan was like, Leonard Skinners. And I was like, what? He's like, Leonard Skinners. And I was like, yeah. He was like, that's a difficult name. I was like, yeah. He's like, but once you get it, you know it. And I was like, oh, Leonard Skinners. So after that, I was like, yeah, well, maybe Leonard Skinners actually kind of has a kind of a weird internal rhyme to it. I don't know. But anyway, so we're stuck with it now, I think is the point.
It's great. Like, I mean, because it's not a play on, it's not a play on anything else that's been done before. I always thought it was brilliant to get, but watching you, I think I did an awful lot of treat in watching you, and you do it very. I can't believe that it wasn't art that you went to study, because you're unbelievably good at acting. Like
oh, cheers.
No,
it wasn't always that way. I think it's possibly just endless practice. I think I was very poor. Yeah.
There you go. Well, I mean, if nothing else,
for me anyway, I think Flango and Fingo were always decent. Flango especially, he was a child actor, like he was in movies and that. But I was way behind, I think, at the start.
Yeah, but I mean, for anybody who's kind of wondering, they're going, he is the tall one of the three, and you would be most recognised at the minute right now for those brilliant curry ads. Like
yeah. A bit of crack.
But they have you stamped all over them, though.
They're not. They're lovely. They're lovely people, actually. The fine folks at McDonald's Curry, and the crew who do it, the boys and girls, or the group that do it. So they're just great to work for. They're really sound, and it's always really fun. And you get a trip away, like mad places. Like we went to India for one.
Stop.
Yeah, and it was funny, right? Because we went to India on a shoestring budget, and a director from a really sound lad called Chris Cotton, who's calmed down a bit now, but was a bit of he's mad, like he's great, but he went to the shoestring budget and then came back, and people were like, "Love the ad. Where'd you shoot that?" And they're like, "India." And they're like, "Oh, I thought it was a green screen." Right. Okay, job done. But it was funny. It was like all sorts of amazing places that I'd never get to go. It was in Estonia. There was Bulgaria. Estonia, Bulgaria, India, and Ireland. But the India one was really interesting because some of it was shot in like a spice market, like kind of on the fly. Well, on the fly. I think they probably cleared, but like, it's India. There's lots of people around, and there's loads of kids who just kind of hang around, and they're just so gorgeous. Like there's like they're always like smiling, and they're just so excited to be around anything with cameras. And there's such a huge culture in Mumbai of
Bollywood. Sure, I mean they're
exactly.
revered like gods.
So anything like any sort of anything with a camera, and I felt almost embarrassed. Like I was like, they were like, "Oh my god!" Like "Wow, this is amazing!" Like, and I was like, "It's just an advert. It's just an advert."
What I love is if they revering you at the moment. Look at this majestic. He's all arms. He's beautiful. Look at him. It's so love. And then all of a sudden you tell them what, and you give them a taste of it. It's like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah, they probably might not own. I don't know. Did they probably the idea of curry sauce? I mean, to someone from India, I don't know how they would think of that, because I would imagine that curries are made from scratch using tons of different spices, and the idea of hey, check it out. You see what you do there? Well, I can do in 2 minutes. And it's like, but it doesn't have the flavor. 2 minutes.
And then we're going to pour it over some fried potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no. So I did feel that kind of like you probably know what I'm talking about here, but like as a kind of a stand-up or comedian, like your instinct is like you're looking for a validation. You want and you maybe don't like receiving validation for not really having done anything. Like there's nothing worse. Like that's why I've never really enjoyed birthdays that much.
I know it's being Irish this? And being a comedian.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It's so I just feel like you don't deserve it. But like if ever I felt like I didn't deserve it, it was shooting that ad in India, and we went to a rural paddy field, and it was in the middle of the day. It was really hot, and there was a village kind of based around the paddy field, and they weren't working at the time because it was too hot. I think they work, as far as I know, they work really early in the morning and then late at night,
right,
and then rest during the day because it's just too hot. But this amazing like place that just you'd never get to see, I guess, and go into this village, and they've lined the street either side, and because they're not working. I mean, they probably work enormously hard. Like, because they're not working, they don't really have an awful lot to do. And so they watch the whole shoot. And so, like, I have an audience of about 200 people.
Stop!
Looking. And, like, worst is, like, when you're shooting anything, like, you have to say the same line 30 times. And I'm just like, I said, please. I was like, I was like, start to try and entertain, So I felt guilty. I was like, how can they still be watching this? This must be so boring.
Oh my God, you're making my skin crawl. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like, no. I was like, and then it's just like you're trying to be, and then it's like there's two crews there, and like when you're on an ad, like they try to treat you really well, like but again, it's not something I'm really comfortable with. I don't mind, like just tell me where to stand, and I'll do the thing. Like I'll do what you want me to do, but like don't be running with like a water or stuff. Like I'm not comfortable being treated.
Yeah.
Being treated like royalty basically makes me very uncomfortable, and so just like it's wonderfully kind and everything, but you're trying to like, oh no, you're grand, you're grand.
Yeah,
like, Irish people in restaurants, like
yeah.
It's quite an experience.
I got pulled on it one time. I was on it was only a small part, but I was in a show called Ripper Street. Yeah. And I played a cop, and I like that. My role had become slightly, increased in importance ever so slightly, as per them. For me, nothing seemed to change, but I noticed all of a sudden they were coming running with water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I stopped this woman. I went, honestly, you don't have to. I know you think it's cold. It's not that cold. You don't have to put a jacket on me and you don't have to run and get stuff. She goes, it's my fucking job. She said it like, I don't want to be nice, but it's my job to be nice. I'm going to stay doing my fucking job, okay? So it was like, okay, understood. Say no more. What you mean.
You never, it's hard to get right, obviously. And you're probably right. That was probably the right thing to do, is to kind of let them do their job, and then at the end of the day go, look, thanks very much, I appreciate it, you did a great job, or something like that. I would imagine maybe would be better. I remember being on holidays, and I was in a restaurant. I think it was maybe a French restaurant, and I decided when the waiter came over to help him arrange the cutlery.
There you go, mammy.
And I just like he came over, he had a big like hot bowl of something or other, and stew. No, it wasn't stew. Something I probably couldn't pronounce. And I tried to make a space for him at the table.
Yeah.
Well, he only had two hands, and his two hands were anyway. He was absolutely not impressed, and he put down the dish on the kind of table thing that I had it with, and then rearranged what I had done. And then did it again without saying a word, and I was just like, "Wow, that's me told."
Wow, what a slap in the arse for you!
I know, yeah.
Pure French though, like they would, yeah. You can imagine the French going, "No,"
exactly, yeah. I'm mucking it up for him, I'm just getting too interfere-y, too Irish.
Well, you stepped over the line. All of a sudden, now you're the waiter. What are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I've learned my lesson there. Let him do his thing.
What is it like to sell out huge theatres in other countries? It must be like, as we just talk about emotions that you be feeling in certain situations, like the phenomenon. Obviously, I mean, because your internet game is, because thank God it's translatable. Unlike what direct stand-up is, you can actually form a brilliant sketch, and now making sitcoms as well. It is translatable now. There's nothing like the live performance when you see Foil Arms Hog, because you can see you're having the crack in that too.
So fun, I know,
like there's times there when I see you. I remember we were at the Vodafone and Natasha, I was just after doing the gig, and Natasha went, Foil Arms Hog, we have to go see the boys. I think Paul Curry had been on Witchy or something.
Yeah,
so it was just madness. It was just going to be a tent full of madness. And you did I can't remember what bit it was, but you're an asshole, or I think you're obnoxious. There was a game. It was a game show.
Who's a prick? You're a prick.
Who's a prick? Yeah. And you did this bit where you're just going, and you ran around the entire fucking tent.
It's too big.
Yeah, always
drinking people's drinks, eating their food. Yeah.
And you could see the lads looking at each other while you were running around, just going, yeah, like pretend shag in the air and everything, like, yeah, I'm the fucking man. Like, and it was like, well, that's the embodiment of every dickhead we've ever seen throughout our lives. But you could see the two boys looking at each other, going, he is tearing the whole out of this now.
It's funny because, like, they're like that bit, like, sometimes those rooms are too big and you just run out of steam. And
where do you go though? If you started, you got to
you started, you got to finish. Yeah, but sometimes I think one or two occasions I learned the hard way. It's just like you get back and all the energy's gone out of the sketch. I think the only thing to do there is just to be kind of honest and be like, usually out of breath, going, I think I took too long. Sorry, or whatever. And there's nothing audiences appreciate more than honesty, especially if bit hasn't worked.
Yeah, because they're in on the gag with you. Like,
he knows that he wasn't funny. Well, that's okay. Yeah.
But like to do, because I mean, you sold out all over the UK. You sold out in Australia as well, didn't you?
The Australia. I think the Australia shows were a good bit smaller, but the UK. The UK date. So it depends on where you go. Like, places can really surprise you. Like, you could book shows. I mean, every so often we book a bunch of shows in places that we've never been before. I have never heard of before, and you get ones that barely sell, or you get ones that sell 200 seats or 250 seats in a 600 or 700 seater, and you're oh god, what are we going to do there?
They're all going to sit at the back.
Yeah, exactly. You're terrified up until it's always fine. By the way, that's what I should say. It's always fine. Or then you go to a place, Reading, for instance, where it's 1,000 seater and zero expectations, and it was sold out with 6 weeks to go. I just can't. Sometimes you just can't tell. And I've tried. I've tried to figure out what the secret is, and I haven't been able to. I don't know. It always surprises me. It's always surprising. Like it's funny because you book one in London and then you're like, expect that one to sell out, and it doesn't, and you're really annoyed. Because not annoyed. That's a strong emotion. But you expect it to sell out, so you're a bit kind of confused. And then the more rural ones, you're not expecting anything from, and then they are. So I don't understand.
You were on. There's things. Do you know the way some things just resonate, and I can't get some stuff out of my head that absolutely. But I don't know. Was a part of Who's a Prick? You're a Prick. I possibly, but there was one. It was an item about. It was like a questionnaire of a dickhead move. I can't remember, was it in that sketch? And it was something about eating a breakfast, a roll with grated cheese in the car. Was that part of that one, or is that a much older sketch?
No, I think that's funny, actually. I think that we used to do a really risky thing, which was not risque, but I mean, I guess it was a little bit risque for us, but we used to do a really, really risky thing where we do the asshole improvisation round.
Yes.
And we'd say, we get a bunch of locations, I think, from the audience. And then, we probably was, one of them was like, you're in a car. And then I'd be like, I've got a roll with grated cheese in it. And I was like, oh, and then, you're in a hospital. And then you're like, disconnect all the drips. It was, and it had the potential to go like amazing or it has potential to bomb. So we cut it in the end because it was too unpredictable. And we were just like, because you'd done it, the sketch itself probably ended up nearly 10, 12, 15 minutes if you put the end on it.
Yeah.
And we were like, it's too long. Like we are squeezing that dry. And we're getting greedy, So we cut the improv round. The improv round was, when it went well, was really funny. There's one on film about an orphanage, and I think Sean Flanagan is in some way burning it down or something. It goes way too far, and you can just see he's like, all of us are looking at him horrified, and it's improv, so to a certain extent anything could come out. Obviously that's what came out, and we were just looking at him, and the audience can see he's crying, laughing. He's laughing so much he doesn't know. He's just what he said, and so they kind of go with it, I guess. But you kind of don't know what's going to happen with that.
I don't know why that grated cheese roll. It just stuck in my head because that is so on point for a dickhead move to sit into your car. Somebody sits in and goes, all right,
I've forgotten that. Yeah,
even sliced cheese, okay.
Yeah, grated cheese.
Grated cheese is fuck. That's so on point.
Yeah. Because I guess it's funnier than popcorn. Well, popcorn's going to go everywhere, but grated cheese, you're like, yeah, I do find bits of grated cheese, and it's kind of rubbery,
Yeah. Although on a selfish point of view, my favorite sketch of a years that I've ever seen was the Net People. It cracked me up beyond belief. It was just this moment of silliness where all your noses were squished. Are you speaking?
Yeah, it was so stupid. It's funny. It used to work. We used to do it. When did you see it when we used to do down City Limits?
I saw it. I opened for you one night in Clonmel.
Oh, was that where we did it?
And I saw it. I remember going, "Oh my god!" And God bless him. I don't think some of the audience were ready. If you know what I mean.
No, and that was true forever with that sketch. It was a room splitter. But the problem, the reason we kept doing it was because the people who liked it, loved it. You were saying there, the people who didn't like it just were like, oh, I just didn't get that. That was a bit weird. But the people who liked it were bringing their mates to the show in Edinburgh.
Oh yeah, I would. Yeah, just to see that one. Yeah,
they were like, because the Net People. So you have to see the Net People thing. They're doing this stupid thing. There's nets and putting their faces. So you got to see it. You got to see it. So we were selling tickets based on the Net People, even though half the room didn't enjoy it. So it's kind of worth keeping, But it was whatever time it came out. I don't know. Was it 2013 or 2014 or something like that? But where it was right on point to whatever sci-fi was around at the time, or that sort of weird sort of stuff. It stopped working now, and it ceased to be. I don't know. We're probably not doing as good a job of it, but and maybe I think it was also funnier. The smaller the room and the more grimy the room, the funnier it was.
Yeah.
For some reason, when you make the venue bigger and classier. Well, one thing you can't see the squished faces as well.
Yeah.
The kind of homemade nature of it, which is true, which was they were fishing nets. That we needed the pole. We needed the pole for, I can't remember, some sort of exercise thing or something, the sketch. So we're like, where are we going to get these poles? And someone was like, well, I've got 3 fishing nets at home. We'll just cut off the poles every day. So they were lying in our office for a year, just as nets. And the lads used to put them on and make faces. And I was like, oh, that's gross. And then we were really stuck for a sketch one year, and they're like, is there anything in that net thing that Fingal sometimes does? And we were like, it is kind of gross, and it's kind of funny. It's really funny. Okay, we'll choose that. And then Sean Flanagan went off and wrote this kind of a kind of sci-fi kind of thing to it.
I love it. There's that necromancer kind of vibe to it.
The prophecy is always the prophecy. Yeah. Again, it is one of those sketches that we probably took too long. Probably needed to be a minute long. It was like, we'll squeeze 5 out of it.
I would have been happy enough for it. I can't help, but I didn't. Now, don't tell me you're so ridiculously talented. You play piano as well, because I know you.
No, I don't. I don't play piano. To be fair, I do. I can play some things on the piano, but I can't. I can't really read music. I'm too slow. I can read it, but it would take me a while. But I use it to write songs on, just to get tunes for, and then I work out the chords, simple stuff. To be fair, And I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. Put it together and then give it to Sean Finnegan, and he's a good guitarist, and he can make and a decent pianist, and he can make something out of it. Then, so I put the kind of, I choose the chords and the music or the timing or something like that. But I'm not. I wouldn't. I play piano in the show, but that's only because I've gone ahead and learned 2 songs over and over and over and over and over. But no, I'm not the guy to turn to at a party. Oh, bang us a tune there. You're like, no.
Come on, now it's drama society. Somebody would have bust something out. Just
everybody.
That was the thing. It's really interested to talk to you because you saw it from the outside in. You were like, I'm science. Oh, this is drama. You know, they don't see it. Like, there was a chap I remember. He refused to call, like, a night at the comedy club would be just a night at the comedy club, and it would be a first half, a second half with a break in the middle, and he would repetitively call it the first act, the second act, and you're like, what? No, it's not.
You do get stuck with those things. Like, as a friend of mine was going for like a job interview, and I was like, how's the job audition? The audition for the job. Hello, I am here to audition for the position of marketing manager.
Scarf on, the whole lot.
Here is my monologue.
So you were saying you were going, what? How many? I know I hate to ask it, but how many gigs? What was pulled on you the day Leo stood on a year ago?
About half of everything. Half of the no, sorry, more than that, really. We had an American tour.
Oh yeah! Shit, that's right.
2 Canada dates, and so that was there 7 dates in the US and 2 dates in Canada. They were gone. They were supposed to be this October, but I think that was just not going to happen. You have to pull those early because obviously we just knew it wasn't going to happen. But like the what was I going to say? Oh, the visa processing and all that sort of stuff, and that takes months. So you kind of have to make a relatively early decision, or you'll find you've handed over an awful lot of money to get things rubber stamped. So that, then about half of the UK tour. So we made a few dates. We didn't do London and Exeter and Portsmouth and about 3 or 4 others that we had to cancel. But I have to say, like, fairly lucky, to be perfectly honest, because most comedians, as you know, tour in the autumn.
Yeah.
So we tour in the spring, and we only started touring in the spring was because when we started touring, we couldn't get dates in the autumn because there was too much competition. There's too many people touring. So we ended up in this cycle of touring every spring and finishing the tour, having a few days off, and then writing an Edinburgh show, which is horrific, by the way. But you're like, the tour is finished, and it's like, and it's May, time to write a new show. It's like, it's not really what you want to do, but can't complain, really. It meant that we were able to structure the dates we wanted to. So, but what I'm saying is, you know, we finished half of our tour dates as a result, whereas if we'd had an autumn, we wouldn't have got any tour.
Yeah, but that's,
you know, and you'd have to feel for the I guess anybody who's you know, had to do his tour in autumn, or probably more pertinently people who just are doing, you know, not touring, or, you know, weekly gigs or whatever, like that would be the most affected. So I can't really complain there. Half a tour is pretty good, you know.
And because I noticed the moment at all. Well, not the moment at all. I said the boys are very serious. A couple of years when you properly got an office, you know what I mean, and everything started to look. I was like, oh, this is looking sharp now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the office we'd the office in the KCR industrial estate in Dublin, and it's now apartments. I think it's all gone. But when we arrived in there, it was like all the units were empty apart from someone across from us who was in the tiling business, and someone down the hall who was an accountant.
I love that. There's Foil Arms Hog, tiling and accounting.
I know, it's great. And they were really sound, like, you know, especially the tiling guy after, you know, when we, in the early years, it wasn't whatever, but by the end of the thing, the tiling guy's like, I think my daughter watches your stuff. And we're like, oh, cool. But, such a sound landlord, a fella called Jonathan. And we used to pay him we didn't pay him we didn't have any money, so we were paying him in cash every month, and he always had to chase us for it. So like, he's just like, he liked us because he liked having tenants, and well, more so, he was just a nice guy, really. And you know, he'd knock on the door and be like, "Hey, you lads, just chasing up checks." That's what he called them, was like checks. We're not really writing any checks, mate. We're going to be giving you a big bag of coins. And like, we'd been doing street performance one summer, and he got paid like the following 2 months in like rocking into the office, and he was just like, he's laughing his head off. He's like, "Look, it's all money, I don't mind." And we were like, "We're so sorry," like piling up the 20 cents in 1 row and then the euros and everything. But yeah, so that was a great place. We used to put we had like, sometimes we do kind of the exterior shot of the office to kind of set up the scene.
Yeah.
You know, so we'd put like doctor surgery, you know, doctor whoever, or the bank of whatever, and then it's a bank. It's just I think we probably, like all good ideas, we probably were inspired by some movie or something. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we used to change the name on the front of the door every so often, and like had like proctologists. The one that got us in, I won't say into trouble because it wasn't trouble, but the one that raised eyebrows was a veterinarian's clinic, which we did for one sketch.
Right.
So the landlord knocks on the door and he's like, "Lads," he's like, "Yeah, what's the deal with the veterinary clinic sign?" And we're like, "Oh, it's just like, it's for a sketch." And he's like, "Yeah, I've had 3 or 4 inquiries about people wondering whether there were going to be animals passing through beside their offices, you know." But yeah, that was a great place. Yeah, geez, the rent was rock bottom.
Was it?
I think we were paying. Yeah, I think when we left there, I think we started, maybe it was just below €200 a month for an office, like in Dublin.
Jesus.
I think by the time we left, it was 275, and it was really funny because when the landlord Jonathan came into. At that point, we were doing bigger gigs, and he hadn't been charging us properly for rent. Like, I think all the other spaces were starting to fill up, and everyone else who was coming in was paying probably double, you know, like, which is the going, right? Like, you know, and he comes in, he's like, "Lads, you know, we're not going to complain. Like, we pay like rock bottom rent. Like, just shut up and don't say anything and whatever." But he comes in, he's like, "Lads," he sits down, he's like, you can see it's really difficult for him as well. He's like, "I'm really sorry, you know, we're gonna have to increase the rent." And we were such arseholes. We were like, "Unbelievable. This is like Charles Dickens. Are you going to be throwing us out in our ear?" And he was like, we were joking, like, obviously joking, like. And he was laughing his head off. We were like, "Oh God, Jonathan." And then we started to like search around for, like, he was increasing it by like 20 quid or something. We were like seeing what we had in our pockets and everything. And he was laughing, but yeah, he's a good guy.
We'll just go do another street gig, see what we can do. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a good guy. Yeah.
And the plan then going forward for the fucking dreadful phrase to use. I mean, you were beautifully positioned because you had a nice fan base and everything lined up with this, because you were out every Thursday with a sketch. It was a brilliant, like, because is that what the whole idea was? We're going, well, we're not touring, we may as well turn our focus here. It's like, are you putting in like a 4 or 5 day proper work week, like?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think that there's loads of stuff that we've always wanted to do, but haven't been able to, because you're usually gigging, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you kind of take Monday off, and then you write on Tuesday, come in on Wednesday, lash out the script and film it, you know, by the evening, and then you're home, and then you edit it, and by midnight it's published, or midnight it's ready to publish, and it's out the next day on Thursday. So very kind of intense. And that wasn't every week, it's, you know, but, you know, most weeks between January and May, you'd be doing that. So there was no time to kind of do other projects that you wanted to do. So one of them was the sitcom, or, you know, at least get an idea for a sitcom, because you find yourself, you know, in meetings or whatever, and we never had anything to give anyone. It's like, they're like, you know, it's some commissioner be like, "Great, you want a meeting?" I was like, "Oh, great, yeah, we'll go, this is going to be brilliant." And they're like, "Hey, what have you got?" And we're like, "Well, we could do a sketch show." And they're like, "No." "What else do you have?" "Nothing." So we wanted to have something.
There was a shock that they were shocked that Foil Arms and Hog wanted to do a sketch show. I mean, what are you doing bringing Foil Arms and Hog in? If,
I think what they're trying to do is they want sitcoms or sketches out of fashion or whatever. I mean, I don't know whether it remains out of fashion or to be fair, it probably works better on the internet. I think that is the new way to do it. But rather than the TV sketch show, I think, to be honest, is a dead prospect. But so we want to do a sitcom, and I wanted to write a movie and to do an album of comedy songs, and kind of slowly getting through things. And the sitcom, at least that's one thing done. The album of songs, I'm working away in it, and I'll do a bit more today, and we're kind of getting there as well. And I don't know, probably won't finish half of the stuff, but giving it a go.
I love it. There hasn't been a proper album of musical comedy done in ages. I love the idea of that.
Yeah. It's funny, like it'll definitely probably include a bunch of our older songs, or songs from our show.
Yeah.
The ones at work, I guess. And a few of them will have to be fixed up or punched up, as you call it. And then kind of add 4 or 5 brand new ones, and then go somewhere and record it and see what it sounds like. And
is there going to be I'm just basing this on the shirt, Conor, and before we wrap up, is there going to be? Are you going to be the new Garth Brooks? Is what I'm saying. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. I booked 5 Croke Parks. It's going to be great.
When are we going to see? When will we see the sitcom?
The sitcom was out last week.
It's out. It's out. The first episode's out.
It's out on YouTube. Well, I suppose it is the first episode. It's called episode 2, but that's only because this sounds stupid. That's only because we did an episode 1. But episode 1 was, I think, 5 minutes long, or something like that. Whereas this is 18 minutes long. So, a different prospect, I guess. This will be it's almost like a pilot. You don't need to have seen episode 1.
Well, I'm going to put it in the show notes under this so people at least can subscribe. Is that the best place to follow you? Is YouTube or Facebook the best place to follow you?
Yeah, YouTube. YouTube is definitely the best place, I think. It's Facebook comes and goes, but YouTube crew are solid.
Yeah, to be fair, I would be amazed if at some stage you got. Although you could get flagged with some of the stuff you've done. All right, yeah. I'd imagine who the kind of psychopath it would be to have a problem with Foil Arms and Hog. Like, really?
There's every type of person.
Yeah. There's only a handful of things to give out about, but yeah, you push it. I'm still loving the idea of you being in India peddling curry.
Yeah, I know the audacity of it all. Yeah.
Conor McKenna, thank you so much. I've taken up enough of your time.
Thanks,
You're an absolute gent,
Not
man.
at all. That was an absolute pleasure. Lovely way to start the day. I was like, I don't know what I would have been doing, but I'm here chatting to you. Thanks a million.
You've got amazing hair, amazing shirt. People,
likewise.
Well, amazement, it's a broad spectrum. Being amazed is a broad spectrum when it comes to this. And my sincere thank you to Mr. Conor McKenna. What an absolute joy of a man. I just love talking to that guy. Hell of a nice guy. So you know the crack. If you're not following Foil Arms and Hog, get following, for Christ's sake. They're absolutely incredible. When you do get a chance, when things open up again, get going. Get going to see them. That has been episode 178. So do comment on whatever platform you're listening on. Even if you just want to grab a screenshot and write something under it, tag me or the podcast in Instagram or Twitter. And we'll review it, because we do have just one more episode before we hit 300 shows gone up on the Bookshot Network. And I will be sending a prize out to the top comment. The top comment gets it. So that's the crack, lads. That is the crack. If you do want to become a Patreon, look down in the show notes. If you want to buy some merch, which people have bought more merch this week, I want to know where the merch is going. So send me a picture when you do finally get it, please. They're all down there in the show notes underneath what you're listening to right now. That has been the pod. Lads, go on away. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Mind yourself. And I'll talk to you on Monday. Good night, God bless, and thanks.